Hey, and welcome everyone to our video tutorial. In today's video, we are going to cover roles. And roles allow us to assign different permissions to our application users. Also, roles are strictly related to directories. So you will at some point need to create a directory and add users inside that directory so that you can eventually move those users inside a role that you create inside this tab. Now, you can navigate to directories by clicking on the burger menu and clicking on directories, or when you set up a new role here inside the Flex framework, you can also create a directory on the fly. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to mention that every single application in the Flex framework, by default, you will see this public access. So if your application contains any public-facing components, for example, a contact form or a registration form that anybody needs to fill out, then you will need to use the public access role. However, if your application is entirely internal and you don't have a need for any public-facing interfaces, then you can ignore the public access role that's already inside your account. Now, in my example for the video, we're going to set up 3 different roles. We're going to have administration, we're going to have management, and we're going to have employees. So let's set up our role. And we're going to call this admin as our very first role. Now, as I mentioned before, you can create a directory on the fly, or you can click on the burger menu and go to directories and set it up that way. But for today's video, I am building a project management demo, and I will show you how we can build roles and permissions for that type of a use case. I do have a directory already created in advance. It's called PM_dir_users. And inside that directory, I have added 9 employees. Let's click on it, click on create, and Caspio immediately takes me inside the permissions tab for that specific role. Now, by default permissions, when you look at the CRUD settings, create, read, update, and delete, these are the default settings. Now, when it comes to the admin role, typically the admin has permissions to do anything within the application, so you may find yourself selecting all records for create, because you want the admin to be able to create projects, you want the admin to create tasks, and be able to do anything within the app. You also want the administration to be able to read everything, so we want to be able to see all the projects and be able to see all the tasks. You might go as far as giving them the ability or permissions to update everything, and also have the ability to delete everything. If you want to set permissions on individual tables, however, you can always add custom permissions, but we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. I will save my changes. I will go inside the Users tab. And now when it comes to adding users, you're going to click on this button up here, and this is going to bring up the list of all the users that you have added inside that directory. And you can pick and choose which one of these employees is going to have admin level permissions. So for example, maybe Raj and Shelly could be the admins. We're going to move them inside the admin role. And now we have 2 users added. And both of these users will have those admin level permissions where they can do anything within the application. Let's go back out to the roles menu. And now we see the admin role. We can see how many users are added to that role. Let's set up 2 additional roles. Let's go with managers. Once again, we're going to use the same directory. Click create. And again, we're taken inside the permissions tab. Now, the only difference between management and the admin, I still want the management to be able to create all records. I want them to be able to read everything in the application, and I also want them to be able to update everything. However, I don't want them to be able to delete any data. This permission will be reserved to the admin level user. Let's save our changes. Let's go to the Users tab, and now let's add some managers. So let's go with Glenn, Molly, Vlad, and Becky, and click Add. So all of the users in this role will have almost the same capability as the admin without the permission to delete entries. Going back out to the Roles tab, now we will see the admin role, managers, and let's add one, last but not least. And this one we will call employees. I'll select the same directory, click create. And now when it comes to permissions, we're going to add some custom permissions on the tables that we have. You can leave the default permissions as they are. I will go ahead and click on custom permissions, and we have the projects table, and we have the tasks table. So I will include the projects table first. Oh, we want to add some custom permissions on this individual table. I want all the employees to be able to create projects. I also want all the employees to be able to see records, but this time I only want them to be able to see projects that they have been assigned to. So we can choose user's own records, choose the foreign key inside the related table, which is the project owner. Project owner field will be used to stamp the ID of the user so that we can associate the projects back to our users. So we click on apply. I also want them to be able to update their own projects. Once again, we'll choose project owner, click on apply, and definitely not have the ability to delete any entries. So when you set it up this way, every single employee will be able to create a project. However, they're just going to be able to see their own projects and be able to update only their own projects that they've been assigned to, and not have the ability to delete. If you want to create more sophisticated permissions, you can always click on custom, and here you'll be able to add additional conditions on how you want to assign permissions for that specific table of projects. We'll cancel and close that, and let's add custom permissions for the tasks table as well. Click add. For tasks, I want them to be able to create a task. I want them to be able to see their own tasks. So the owner ID, so this will be the owner to the task. It's just using standard record level security. And here as well, we want owner ID and not have the ability to delete. So if you have additional tables and if you want to set up custom permissions on those tables for each one of your roles that you create, you have the ability to do that along with adding more custom permissions if you decide to do that. So let's click save. Let's go to users and let's add users to our employee role, which is Ken, Damien, and Cam. We'll click add. Let's go back out to the roles menu. And now we have the admin role, employees, and managers. We know how many users are inside each role. And we know what type of permissions they have once they log into the applications because of how we've defined our CRUD settings for each one of the roles. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or need more assistance, please reach out to our team or visit our knowledge base at howto.caspio.com. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.